Okay, so I want you to picture a scenario for a second. Let's say it's a Tuesday. You're driving through Chilton County, Alabama,
Right, the Deep South.
the Deep South. You're probably thinking about stopping for, a basket of peaches, maybe grabbing some of that legendary gas station fried chicken.
Or you see signs for bass fishing tournaments everywhere. It's that kind of place.
Exactly. It's rural, it's quiet, and it feels, it feels undeniably modern.
It's the kind of place where the timeline feels very linear, Yesterday was Monday, today is Tuesday, the history books are all closed.
Everything's sitting politely on a shelf.
Yes. But then, let's say you take a wrong turn down some logging road, you step out of your car to check your GPS, and suddenly you are standing at the intersection of a global archaeological crisis, a biological impossibility, and, well, what might be a literal tear in the fabric of history.
Yeah, that is definitely not in the tourism brochure the local Chamber of Commerce was planning to print. No, it is not. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a situation that our sources are calling the Chilton County Revelation. And I have to say, we've covered some strange topics on this show before, but this feels different.
It really does.
We're looking at a collision of history, biology, and, let's just call it high strangeness.
It's a fascinating case study in how we deal with the inexplicable, because usually when we talk about archaeology, we're talking about, dusty bones, broken pots.
Passive things.
Passive things, right. The source material here, which ranges from academic field reports to, frankly, panicked police blotters, details the discovery of a secret Mississippian temple city. But even calling it a discovery feels a little wrong.
It feels a little too passive, doesn't it?
It does. It's more like
Yeah.
the site woke up, looked at the calendar, and decided to introduce itself.
So here's our mission for this deep dive. We need to figure out how a mushroom hunter stumbling into a hole in the ground turned into an international incident involving cow vespers.
We will get to that, I promise.
Oh, we will. And a holy water arms race. And fungi that seem to have their own agenda.
And just to set the stakes for everyone listening, this isn't just a few arrowheads found in a backyard. International archaeologists are calling this site Moundville's weird cousin.
And for context, Moundville was one of the largest cities in North America 800 years ago.
I mean, we're talking about a massive political and spiritual hub.
A huge center of power.
Exactly. And the experts now think central Alabama might have been hiding a sister site, a spiritual engine, if you will, right under the noses of modern reservoirs and boat ramps.
Okay, so let's start with a sources start. The catalyst. It's November. We have a local woman, Rebecca Dalton.
And she's a serious forager. She knows the woods. She knows the seasons. She is not a tourist just wandering around.
Which is why her report is so credible. She's out there scanning the forest floor, and she spots this dense cluster of morels.
Right. In November.
And for those who don't forage or who haven't obsessively studied mycology, why is that so weird?
It's just biologically wrong. Morels are strictly a spring mushroom. Finding them in Alabama in November is like finding a snowman at the beach in July.
It just shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen. And the soil conditions described in the report, acidic pine mulch, that's an absolutely not for morels. They prefer hardwoods, elms, ash trees.
So she's seeing something that's basically impossible. But she follows them, and the way she describes it, it's almost like a breadcrumb trail.
It was, literally. The distribution pattern wasn't random at all. It was directional. The sources say the mycelial network seemed to be, directing her toward a specific point.
And it led her where?
To a narrow fissure between some massive limestone boulders. She squeezes through, slides down this little slope, and suddenly the forest is gone. She is standing in a perfectly preserved underground chamber, about 15 feet across.
And when the report says preserved, it doesn't just mean dusty, but intact.
No, not at all. It says it looked like the ceremony ended 5 minutes ago and someone just forgot to blow out the candles.
That is the detail that gave me chills.
Me too. You have walls lined with pottery fragments, stone tools, intricate shell ornaments. But the centerpiece is this raised stone platform, and it's covered in ancient ash.
That hasn't calcified.
It hasn't calcified, it hasn't turned to stone. It's soft ash after 600 years.
Which brings us to the first huge anomaly in the data. The environment itself.
Right. Any normal cave system has a stable temperature, usually matching the annual average of the region. But this chamber, it maintains a steady 55 degrees Fahrenheit regardless of the outside weather.
But it's not uniform.
No, That's the weird part. Thermal scans show these cold spots that drop another 10 degrees, but specifically around certain artifacts.
It's like thermal inertia just isn't applying here.
Or it's being manipulated. One researcher quoted in the report called it a climate-controlled walk-in altar designed by people who thought eternity was a reasonable project timeline.
That's a heavy concept.
It suggests a level of engineering or something else that preserved organic matter for 6 centuries.
So, okay, finding a pristine temple, that's one thing. That's a National Geographic cover story. But things immediately started getting weird for the excavation team.
This is where the archaeology shifts into what I'd call paranormal best practices.
I laughed out loud reading the updated field manual. You know a dig is going off the rails when the safety protocols include a section on poltergeists.
It sounds like a joke, but the sources treat it with dead seriousness. They explicitly state, and I'm quoting here, ignore rhythmic chanting at dawn unless it starts harmonizing.
And my personal favorite, strongly discouraging grad students from asking out loud, what's the worst that could happen?
It's funny, but it's born from genuine safety concerns. They've logged what they are calling unassisted relocation events.
Which is just a very fancy academic way of saying stuff is moving by itself.
Precisely. We are talking about tools behaving like bored ghosts. There is a specific incident report of a grad student sketching a wall profile. A pencil flew out of his hand.
Not dropped.
Flew, and it embedded itself point first into the dirt wall.
Oh, wow. Okay, that implies force. That implies velocity. That is not a drafty room.
No, it is not. And there's another report about a measuring tape extending itself, just clicking out inch by inch and creeping toward the exit like it was being reeled in by an invisible fisherman.
Usually in archaeology, you try to explain this the way you say air currents, seismic vibrations, something.
An error.
Right. You find the rational explanation.
But the reports note that saying air currents caused a heavy-duty tape measure to walk away against the slope of the floor is becoming impossible to say with a straight face. The physics just don't work.
And then there's the sound, the audio anomalies.
Yeah.
This part really got to me.
This is where the technology gets really interesting. They placed sensitive audio equipment inside and around the mound, and at sunrise and sunset, these liminal times, they are picking up layered, low-frequency chanting.
But the site is secure. There's nobody there.
Not physically, no. But the spectrographic analysis, the visual representation of the sound waves, it shows distinct vocal lines. These aren't wind noises or settling rocks. These are formants. Human-like vowel sounds, repeated patterns.
They've actually started calling them unscheduled ceremonial rehearsals.
Which is a terrifying phrase. It implies that the site isn't just a ruin, it's a machine that's still running. It's like a radio station that went off the air 600 years ago, but is still broadcasting the signal.
Or a live stream we can't see. But let's pivot for a second, because as strange as the ghosts and the flying pencils are, I think the actual main characters of this whole story are the fungi.
I agree completely. This is where the biology just throws a wrench into the history. Remember those morels that Rebecca Dalton found?
The November miracles.
Right. They didn't die off when the frost hit. They multiplied. And they are shrugging off heat, cold, dehydration. But it's their behavior that is truly bizarre. The team set up time-lapse cameras to monitor the growth.
And what did they see?
Movement. Macroscopic movement. We aren't just talking about rapid growth. We are talking about the mushroom clusters literally creeping several feet overnight. They're reorganizing themselves.
Into what?
Into thicker rings around the stone opening. The report describes it as a fungal security perimeter.
It's acting like an immune system.
It is. It's protecting the site. But here is the real twist. The lab results came back on the spores.
I was waiting for this. Because they aren't just morels, are they?
No. They are a hybrid. They contain genetic markers for psilocybe cubensis.
Magic mushrooms.
Specifically, a very potent psychedelic strain genetically closest to varieties found in Central America.
Wait, hold on. Central America.
Right, not Alabama. There is no known biological vector, no wind pattern, no animal migration. That explains how a Central American psilocybin mushroom ended up hybridizing with local morels inside a 600-year-old Mississippian temple.
Unless there was trade.
Or travel. Exactly. It suggests a connection between this site and the cultures of Mesoamerica that is far deeper and more complex than we previously thought. But functionally, for the people on the ground right now, you have a self-ambulating ground cover that is highly psychoactive.
You have to consider the effect this has on the researchers themselves. You're excavating a site surrounded by spores that are known to alter perception.
It creates a massive data integrity problem. The report actually mentions that eyewitness testimony is now flagged as possibly spiritually enhanced.
I saw a quote from one researcher who said, "We're not sure if the mound is haunted or if the spores are just running a very tasteful, slow-motion light show in our brains."
It just blurs the line between objective science and subjective experience in a really messy way. You know, if everyone sees the ghost, is the ghost real, or are they all just breathing the same air?
That's a question that's probably above my pay grade.
Mine too.
But here's the thing that suggests it's not just hallucinations. The weirdness is leaking out. It's not staying at the dig site. Which brings us to what I consider the most surreal part of this whole story, the cows.
Ah, yes, the cow Vespers.
I am absolutely calling it the cow Vespers. On a farm that's adjacent to the site, 40 head of cattle has started doing something, well, unnatural.
At dusk, every single day, they gather in a perfect circle.
Facing inward.
Facing inward, silent, no mooing, no grazing, no tail swishing. They just stand there for exactly 20 minutes. And then they disperse and go back to being cows.
And they brought in ground-penetrating radar.
They did, and it suggests there is a secondary mound structure buried right under the field where they stand.
It's like they have a calendar invite they're all responding to.
It is consistent, coordinated behavior. I mean, herd animals align, sure, but they align to magnetic north or wind direction. They don't form ritual circles and observe silence.
And it's not just the livestock. The local human residents are getting involved too, mostly unwillingly. People are waking up to find offerings on their porches.
This part is so fascinating. Ring-shaped stone arrangements, little bowls of cornmeal and herbs.
With no footprints.
None. The police reports are completely baffled because it's not vandalism, it's gift-giving. But it implies that the neighborhood includes residents who don't follow modern property lines.
Which leads us to the sightings. The crawl figures.
This is the most unnerving part for me.
Yeah.
Witnesses, and these are credible witnesses, farmers, teachers, people who have lived there their whole lives. They describe 7-foot-tall figures.
In robes.
Robed, wearing these elaborate feather headdresses that are consistent with high-ranking Mississippian nobility, and they just move through the woods at dawn and dusk.
But they never interact.
Never. They don't look at people, and they just vanish the moment they step behind a tree. It's not like they run away, they just cease to be visible.
The locals have a theory that I actually find kind of comforting in a strange way. They say it's not aliens, it's just the neighbors who were here first.
It suggests an overlapping reality. Like there's a walkway system, a layer of the map that only these figures can access. We're walking on the pavement, they're walking on the grass that used to be there.
But not everyone is finding this comforting. In fact, this has triggered a significant sociological response. Let's talk about the culture war that's brewing, because obviously if you have ghosts and mushrooms, someone is going to try to fix it.
Enter Operation Sacred Waters.
Yes.
This is such a fascinating clash of worldviews. You have a coalition of local Christian pastors who are looking at all this, the chanting, the moving tools, the psychedelic fungi, and they see a spiritual threat. They see demonic activity.
So their logic is, if holy water repels demons, let's just scale up the operation.
That's the plan. They are treating it like a hazmat situation. They are loading up fishing boats with coolers of blessed water. They're dumping it into lakes, creeks.
Even municipal water towers. I saw that in the report.
Yes. The idea is to create a spiritual perimeter around the entire county.
And I love the detail about the scientists pointing out the dilution ratio. Like pouring a cooler of holy water into a massive reservoir is statistically insignificant.
But the pastors argue it's theologically poetic. It's about the intent. However, there is a very serious counter-perspective here from the indigenous tribal representatives.
Right. They are viewing this situation very differently. They aren't scared.
No, not at all. To them, this isn't some horror movie. It's an intentional reveal. The ancestors are making themselves known. One tribal representative called the Holy Water Plan spiritual trespassing.
That quote was so powerful. They said it's like trying to exorcise our grandparents.
It really highlights the friction, doesn't it? One side sees a haunting that needs to be cleansed, the other sees a homecoming that needs to be acknowledged. And you, the listener, you're sort of the jury here. Is it protection? Or is it erasure? It forces us to ask whose history gets to claim the present moment.
It's a deep philosophical question.